Okay, so you need to preheat your oven to gas 5 or 190 degrees centigrade. Line your tins with baking parchment, or you spray them with cake release spray, which is great stuff. And then put all of your cake mixture ingredients into either a big mixing bowl or pop them into your freestanding mixer. You need to get it going for about 4 minutes. You need the colour of the cake mixture to change slightly. It needs to become slightly lighter in colour and look quite creamy and fluffy. Then divide it up equally between the tins and use a spoon, or the back of a spoon, just to sort of level it off slightly. You'll know the cakes are done when they are slightly brown on top, and when a toothpick comes out of the centre of each of the cakes clean, it will have no crumbs on it at all. You take the template, you download it, and you need to cut the house out and the trees and the stars so that you have them all set out in front of you. I'd cut outside the lines because it's often easier when they're on the gingerbread to see exactly where you're cutting. To make the gingerbread, take the butter, the maple syrup and the sugar. Put them in a saucepan, and you need to heat them on a hob until they are completely molten and there are no bits. Have a good dig around with a wooden spoon. Then take your dry ingredients, which is your plain flour and your bicarbonate of soda and your spices, and then mix them in with a wooden spoon in the saucepan, save on washing up, and really mix them in and beat it in until you've got, what you'll have is like a sort of mass that looks a bit like Play-Doh. Roll it out to a thickness, probably about 4 millimeters thick, but whatever you do, make sure that all the pieces you roll are the same thickness. I use a sharp knife just to cut around the template. Make sure you save the door, don't re-roll the door, you need to keep that. With the windows, you can cut those out and you can use that gingerbread again. Just before you pop them in the oven, take your boiled sweets, whether they're coloured ones or just clear ones, and put them in the middle of the windows, because in the oven that's going to melt into these beautiful stained glass windows. You're looking to bake for about 12 minutes at gas 6 or 200 degrees centigrade. So take around about half of your jam and sieve it. And the stuff that's left over, that's going to be heated slightly to cover the whole cake in. Take your first piece of sponge cake and pop it onto some greaseproof paper, and then take probably a good 3 heaped tablespoons of jam with the bits in it, and then use a knife just to smooth it over. You need a pastry brush, and then spread the jam all over the cake. I'm talking about the top and around the sides. It's quite nice, it's quite therapeutic. Give it a good paint job, and then move on to your marzipan. Notice at first it's really quite hard to knead. It will become more pliable. I then pop a bit of icing sugar down on my work surface and place the marzipan in the middle, and then roll it into a circle. Try and keep it reasonably thick. You probably want to keep it about 4 millimeters. You sort of slide them gently underneath your marzipan and then move them over onto the cake, and then use one palm to sort of massage the marzipan onto the top of the cake, and then you move your hands down over the top. Take a sharp knife and probably leave about half a centimetre around the bottom, which you then use the knife to tuck under all the way around, and then just use your hands to just make sure the marzipan's sitting really nicely on the cake. Next job is to take the white fondant icing and just do exactly the same. Take the palm of your hand and use that as a sort of buffing tool, and you kind of shine it, like wax the fondant. It sounds strange, but it does work. And then use exactly the same technique to move it over onto the cake. Once the cake is trimmed properly and is looking more beautiful, use your palms to smooth around the outside. To put the stars on the cake, really simple. Just take little blobs of fondant icing, roll them into a ball, and then dip both sides in water. Squash onto the star, and then hold against the cake. All you need to do is find whatever sweets you're using and use a little bit of the fondant icing, dip both sides in water or brush them with a bit of water and squash them onto the house. You take sausages of the fondant icing and you roll them to the length of each of the joins in the house. So I would assemble the 4 walls of the house away from the cake. Once you're at a point when you've got the 4 walls constructed, you need to make some sausages to put onto the cake. And think of these as your foundations, snowy foundations. And you attach them with a bit of water. Water is your glue here, basically. And then you take your gingerbread house and you move it onto the cake. And then with the roof, put your hands together and hold them over it quite gently and push. Once that's done, you put a sausage over the top, which is kind of the very top of the roof. I think the roof is the thing that makes the gingerbread house look like a proper gingerbread house. So you take your chocolate buttons and you need to attach a little bit of fondant. And I start at the bottom and work my way up so that you get this sort of shelving effect. The last thing to do before you're going to set the really snowy scene for your house is to plant the tree in the garden. I like to put it in front of the house just because it looks quite pretty. You could decorate it with silver balls if you wanted and make baubles, whatever you like. I use a tea infuser. Last thing, pop some ice and sugar in it and literally set the snow all over the cake, including the stars because that looks pretty nice around the side. And that's it. You could put some little figures in there if you were so inclined, but I kind of like it left how it is, as if someone's gone out to sing some carols, but they're going to come back soon.